Look, I get it. It's one game, and one preseason game at that. It's not going to determine an entire guy's NHL career. It's not going to determine whether or not the guy was taken in an appropriate spot in the 2024 draft. But what this game will do is serve as a benchmark for future endeavors with me. And of course, I just kind of morphed into the Wolf of Wall Street speech there for Aerotime International, but today what I wanted to do was head over to the Ottawa Senators and, for once, give some sort of a positive video out there. I know I get a lot of flack from Sens fans because I give a lot of flack to the Sens, quite a lot. It happens all the time on this YouTube channel, but in this video what I wanted to do was talk about one of these guys that has really pushed his reputation to greater lengths and beyond in the past 24 hours or so. So let's head over to the 2024 NHL Entry Draft and review where the Ottawa Senators were when they had their 7th overall pick. Iginla, Demidov, Lindstrom, Sennecke, Levshunov, and Celebrini went 1 to 6, meaning that the next available prospect that the Ottawa Senators had available to draft, I believe it was one of these three. Zayne, Parekh, Anton, Silayev, Sam Dickinson, Zeev, Buium was in there too. Lot of top-tier defensemen were available for the Ottawa Senators, and instead of going with any of these guys, players that we were all saying could have been top 10, some even top 5 picks, the Sens went with Carter Yakemchuk. And this was another one of these picks, especially at 7th overall, that some fans, especially those in Ottawa, were kind of saying, okay, what the hell was that? You go over to the previous big swing that the Ottawa Senators ended up exhibiting in the 2021 NHL Entry Draft. This one was Tyler Boucher, 10th overall. Another one of these guys that came out of nowhere and absolutely showed up in a top spot when nobody expected them to. Carter Yakemchuk was taken way too early in many people's opinions because, as a 7th overall guy, he was ranked to go a lot lower, like 17th by elite prospects. ISS had him at number 10, so they actually were a pretty accurate representation of where he was going to go. Still a little bit too low, though. Bob McKenzie had Yakemchuk at number 13, Craig Button at 15, future considerations at 18. The fact is, he went number 7 over a whole bunch of other defensemen that a lot of people said should have been higher picks. Zeev, Buium, Dickinson, and Parekh all were kind of snubbed, I would say. Carter Yakemchuk, though, is an offensively minded guy, 6'3", right-handed dude, 203 pounds, and this previous season he had 71 points in 66 WHL games. Add to this 120 penalty minutes and a -6 for the Calgary Hitmen. Yakemchuk had a pretty distinct profile, and that's highlighted in the scouting report here. He can manipulate opponents, he makes plays with perfect timing, and creates looks for his teammates with the threat of his shot every now and then. Constant rush activations and weak side sprints from the offensive blue line keep him involved in the play, creating a higher volume and better quality of looks than most defensemen can access. Yakemchuk was written about in the Elite Prospects Draft Guide as having shades of Brent Burns and Evan Bouchard, a guy with extremely good puck handling and shooting ability, and with decent passing, hockey sense, and physical tools. His skating needed a little bit of work, but he was a hard-shooting, puck-moving defenseman. This was a guy that had a really good offensive profile, and that is exactly why the Ottawa Senators decided to take him at 7th overall. His player type here indicates some of these same skills: offensive defenseman, heavy shooter, and a heavy hitter. But ever since the draft finished up, a lot of folks that weren't in the Ottawa scene were kind of looking at this pick and still saying, hey, while it's a good thing that the Ottawa Senators are believing in their guy, you know, they have a player, they're believing in him, they want to give him an opportunity, it comes at the cost of an opportunity to other guys, a chance at getting one of these top-touted prospects. Yakemchuk going above every one of them could be seen as a really questionable move as soon as 2 or 3 years from now. But right now, as of yesterday, Sunday, September 22nd, the Yakemchuk pick is looking a lot better than it did a few months ago during the draft because the Ottawa Senators just went out there and won against the Toronto Maple Leafs in overtime. The crazy part is, you could actually say that this was maybe the Sens farm team that went out there and played off against Toronto's main squad. A bunch of the main Toronto Maple Leafs were here, and it's Carter Yakemchuk with a solo rush, splitting the defense with a brilliant move, coming in on goal right by Mitch Marner, deking it to the backhand, and scoring on the Leafs goaltender, who gives the Ottawa Senators the win. Carter Yakemchuk ends the game in overtime off of a brilliant play to get around some of the top Maple Leafs players. Who's that guy that he dangled out over there? Number 22? I don't know my numbers right now, but Mitch Marner was indeed the other guy in this exchange. Carter Yakemchuk ends it in overtime. This is what Hattie K went out there and said about it. Hattie, of course, has done some good work for Darba prospects, but now they are on the elite prospect scene. Yeah, Carter Yakemchuk will do that to you. He's insanely skilled, he has a lot of warts, but his stick handling and creativity are absolutely not a concern. And the best part is about this game here, where Yakemchuk got the overtime winner, it turns out he looked much better defensively than he did at any point last year in this game. Good for him. Hope he makes it. He's a violent and skillful defenseman with a 6'3" frame, and that is a fun toolkit. A reply goes out there and says that it's not like he was a defensive stalwart, but he looks shockingly not out of place in the D-zone against the entire Maple Leafs top 9. He's obviously far from polished, but he seemed way farther along than most people actually expected him to be. Considering he looked shakier in the prospect games even, you have to imagine he was just having a particularly good outing last night. Still fun and encouraging though. There are a bunch of other conversations that have been brought up about Yakemchuk here too as well. I mean, this tweet had 200,000 views, it's the goal, and a whole bunch of people going out there and talking about this. Look at this, man. Habs fans realize they don't even have the best defensive prospect in the division. That is nasty work, man. Lane Hudson who? It's all about Carter Yakemchuk. Am I right? Am I right? Okay, we're not going to play that. That's copyrighted material from Sportsnet. But at the end of the day, even the scouts are coming out there and saying that Yakemchuk did look better. The Yakemchuk I watched in Buffalo at the rookie tournament last week and Plymouth at the World Junior Summer Showcase this summer looked like he had a long way to go still. The one who played tonight against the Leafs didn't. Great debut. He's got a ton of skill, no question. Side note, do you ever think about how there are children born in the year 2005 who are now cooking people in the NHL, like Mitch Marner? Yeah, that's kind of great, isn't it? Some players simply play better when the hockey is better. Shows his hockey IQ. Great to see. What a boast for this kid. Now, when it comes to Yakemchuk, there is kind of a question that you could bring up, like, why is he good now? What happened in a game against the Toronto Maple Leafs that all of a sudden brought the best out of this guy? And honestly, I feel like maybe it's a combination of these things, like playing off against Marner and Matthews and all them will bring out the best in you, plus the fact that you're now in an NHL training camp and NHL preseason games, you're probably getting some of the best coaching that you've ever gotten in your hockey playing career. Yakemchuk has been a part of the Calgary Hitmen system this entire time, and what? He's got a whole bunch of draft pedigree from it, but still not enough skill to have been ranked higher than some of the guys taken after him. So all in all, maybe this was a really good opportunity from the get-go for the Ottawa Senators, and if Carter Yakemchuk is able to continue to produce points, really clutch goals, and actually have defensively competent play in his own zone, maybe there's a world where Yakemchuk starts in the Ottawa Senators system this upcoming year. Maybe he gets 9 games, and maybe if he's good enough, he sticks around. Who really knows? Nobody would have expected that out of a guy that was supposed to go somewhere in the 15 to 17 range in the 2024 draft, but who ended up going up much higher by about 10 spots or so. So let me know your thoughts in the comment section below about Carter Yakemchuk and his crazy debut in the preseason yesterday against the Toronto Maple Leafs. What are your thoughts on this prospect for Ottawa, and what are your thoughts on what he's capable of doing? I hope you enjoyed this video, and bye.